This video will cover some advanced, really kind of geeking out Fortapay features. In most cases, you won't need to use or implement any of these features, but we do like to cover some of the available fun things that you can accomplish with Fortapay. So the first one of those is in some cases, you need to link directly to a specific invoices. I usually recommend in our campaigns just linking to the invoice list, which is usually sufficient where they can see which invoices are unpaid and paid, and usually that's not a problem. However, in some cases that might not be appropriate, and we actually need to link directly to a specific invoice where they would see that relevant invoice. If that's the case, it is a little tricky to accomplish this in Infusionsoft given some of the constraints, but we have come up with a way to do that. So in order to do that, the first thing you'll need to do is set up a custom field in Infusionsoft. And what we're going to do with this custom field is hold the most recent invoice ID. And so we'll come over to admin settings. And for contact, we want to set up a custom field. And then here we would create a field. We could just leave it text, and this would be the invoice ID would be fine. So we could save that. I've already saved one, so I won't do that here. Once we do that, we'll come over to the Fortapay admin under settings and then Infusionsoft. And under these advanced settings here, I can set the last invoice ID field. And so I'll do that. I've set one up here, last invoice ID, and then I'll hit save. Okay, so what this now allows me to do is to save the most recent invoice as an ID in one of those custom fields. Under my billing automation, I can also set that field here to be the last invoice ID. I could use these separate. There might be a case where we would want to do that. If you're having notices, if somebody's having a lot of invoices on their account, we might want to have these as separate links, but in most cases they would be the same custom invoice ID field. So once that's saved, what will happen now is on the contact record for Wiley here, we should have I've actually set it under the Fortapay tab, the last invoice ID. Okay, so this is a field and it will be populated with whichever invoice was last charged on his account. So how to make this work, let's go back to one of our campaigns we set up previously. So if we go to Campaign Builder, and let's go to our Open Invoice Notices. So instead of sending this notice, and instead of sending this link to the general list of invoices like we'd set up previously, we want this to go to a specific invoice. So we need to do that a little differently. For one, we'll want to come over to our Infusionsoft links here, and then we'll want to go to this link directly to a specific invoice. And so in this case, we'll copy this link right here, and then we'll update that in our campaign to link right to that invoice. Now to make this work, we'll need to come out of here and make a slight adjustment. So before we send out this invoice, we want it to run one of these HTTP posts. So it will update to the last invoice in the list. So, and actually I usually like to add a small delay here just to make sure everything does its thing before we send out that email. So we might just add a minute delay, a couple minute delay there. And then this post will need to run. So I jump back over to Fortapay, and down right here, we want to grab this invoice post. And now this one, we won't need the actual merge tags with these posts. We'll just grab this link right here, copy that, come back to our campaign. Close. And configure this post right here. So we'll paste that value there. We don't really need to mess with anything else. Hit update. Now what happens is when an invoice is sent, whether it's triggered by one of our billing automation rules in Fortapay, or I manually send this invoice using our internal action form, they will come in here, we'll run this little script, which will update our invoice ID field, and then we'll send out a link directly to that invoice. So this is how we would set up and send a link to a specific invoice. This would also work with our billing automation, but in fact, if we are using these rules instead of manually sending out these invoices, we wouldn't need this post here. The system would automatically handle that capability. So if you relied on all your invoices being sent via one of our automation rules, we could skip this step of setting up this post. But in case you want to actually manually trigger those events with our internal form, for example, let's see our internal form that we have for Fortapay actions here. We fill that out, and if we wanted to send an invoice notice this way, we would definitely need to have that little HTTP post trigger that we've set up. So if we use that, we could hit save, and then they would get sent directly to that specific invoice. So that's the advanced feature there. The next one of these I want to discuss is to have these links expire. So since we're sending out emails with links where someone can log directly into their billing center, we might want to have those links expire after a certain period, after a number of days, etc., if we were very concerned about some of our security. Now, in Fortapay, we don't provide any actual credit card information that people can access. Really, just the data that they can see is their invoicing activity with the credit cards and the last few digits of those cards. So there really isn't much information that's valuable to hackers or can be used for credit card theft or anything like that that we store in Fortapay. So we don't really need to worry about that. But potentially there could be privacy issues and we might want to have these links expire. So if we want that to happen, we'll need to set up a session security field. And we recommend setting up a custom field called hash. We would do that the same way that we did before. I think I've sent one up in here. Let's see here. Oh, there it is. Hash. So this is just a text field. It's going to store a value. If I have this set, then I can have my links to the Fortapay account expire. Let's say I wanted them to expire after 3 days, where they would not be automatically logged into their account. So I could set those values there. If I did that, then I'll need to update any of my links. And so it will include this hash right here. So in the event of the one we were just doing where we're linking to a specific invoice, we'll want to copy that new link there and then set that in my email. So I would update this link that now includes the security hash field, and that will expire after 3 days. So once someone gets this email, the link will work for 3 days in my example, but after 3 days, if they tried to click this link, it would send them to log in. It would not automatically log them into their billing center. So that's an extra security field there. In most cases, I wouldn't recommend that. It does create some hassle and maybe some confusion from your customers. But if you felt that was a need, then you could do that. The next advanced feature I want to mention is one of the features under tools that allows you to customize your Infusionsoft template inside of Infusionsoft. Now, I don't recommend this because we think it's really a better way to send out invoices is to use the Fortapay emails that we've set up and have them log right into their billing center. But you may have other receipts or other information that's getting sent out of Infusionsoft directly. And if you'd like that to be upgraded to look and match the look and feel of your Fortapay invoice, you can simply come in here, select all this code in HTML, and then we'll go into Infusionsoft. We'll go over to e-commerce settings. And then under quotes and invoices on the left, we can customize our invoice templates. So all I need to do is either come in and add a new one or edit my existing template. And so we can see what this currently looks like. I've already done it here, but we would go to the code builder. And then we'll come down to where we have all this code. We'd select it all, paste that code, hit save, and then we can close the builder and it will update with a very similar look to our Infusionsoft, or excuse me, our Fortapay invoices with a link to be able to pay online. So this would allow you to update the current look of your invoices. Again, we recommend circumventing this whole process and actually using Fortapay to send out your invoices, but you can certainly update them with that look. Finally, I want to mention if you are currently have another membership site, maybe something like Membarium or iMember 360, anything that integrates with Infusionsoft, you can automatically link Fortapay and your membership site together. And how you would do that is come over to the appropriate Infusionsoft links right here, and then we would just grab one of these links. So if we wanted to maybe have somebody in a Membarium site and have them come right over into our Fortapay account, we could grab this link right here. But in place of the contact ID merge field and the email merge field here, we would use our appropriate short codes for those specific data fields. So Membarium has its own unique merge code for contact ID. We would just put that merge field there. Likewise for email, we would merge in the Infusionsoft email address. And with that link, then in our membership site, we could add them or log them directly into Fortapay without requiring your customer to yet log into another membership site. So that works with any of these options here, logging them into the overview or a list of invoices or updating credit cards, etc. So Fortapay can integrate right with your Infusionsoft powered membership site as well. That wraps it up for the Geeking Out video of some of the more advanced features of Fortapay.